Hello guys, how are you doing? This is S2 Statistics, and in today's video we're gonna talk about the Mongols on the Mirage. This was a highly requested thing on the Google Forms that I always include in the description of the video, so if you want to check it out the thing, just request there. I'm always reading the feedback, the suggestions, guys. So the Mongols was a team that played the final of the major against Vitality, and by the way, Vitality is a team that I want to talk about, the Inferno. But their Mirage was extremely good, they stomped it with Vitality, they won against FaZe, they won against Aurora, they won against Pain. So a lot of high profile teams they won against on the Mirage, very excellent setup, and I'm gonna show you that it's very interesting to see the CT and T approach to the map. Starting with the profile, they have a AWP mode position in a dual WP setup. They really like to do. What I mean by this is that they WP here, sometimes here, sometimes here, sometimes here, all these multiple positions with the WP. And they also have the shadow control. Shadow, I refer to this position behind the palace, below, sorry. And something that I must say about the Mongols is that they are a snowball team. So when they have the economy advance, they keep pushing the economy. So the way to win against the Mongol city is to break the economy. I know that it's easy for me to say, oh, just break the economy. That makes sense. But the question is that with the more money they have, the more money they spend with this dual WP setup. They really depend on the WP, and the dual setup is a nice evolution because Senzu plays as the second opera. He plays a lot. Senzu has a high presence here on the short position with the WP, sometimes in the market position. He always with this second WP when they have the money. And because of this high economy dependency, they need to make the economy work. So they're gonna go for some like eco round, some first buys with low commit with MP9s, and to get the economy going. So they need this economy. So just be aware, snowball effect that they have with the economy. Now we're starting with a low economy situation, just an example for you guys how they work with the low economy. And the low economy, they really like to make this tree setup in mid, 90-10 here behind the chair, Senzu on the B short push aggressive, and then Blitz to take out this mid duo. So they first Molotov the box and then flash the opening of this part of the mid. And while it is happening, the anchors plays in a solo position of bare back forward, like Techno plays in the van, Mazinho plays in a site. Sometimes we will play on the palace, in the shadow position as they like. Mazinho doesn't often go for the push ramp. This is unlike because other teams on the Mirage, as I already show here on the not so quick analysis, really push for this rank position. But Mazinho don't. Mazinho prefers to play on the A side, very defensive position on all of the setups on the CT. Now for the AWPA, in the WPA 910 plays in the ticket position of this box behind here, the ticket. But he can also play in the stairs and sometimes he plays on the sandwich with the cross angle short palace. And when he does this, Mazin, instead of playing on the shadow, goes for the A side once again, or even he turns on this part of the map. But that's some things like also Molotov, but he prefers to play more behind this two box here. And because of that, he always avoided this. And to always avoid the ramp, they prefer the Molotov instead of the smoke because we see other teams just doing the smoke on the ramp. But the Mongols, no, always the Molotov, always the Molotov. And what is interesting is that since 9010 always rotates with the WP, we see that Sinzu plays short apartments, so he controls the market instead of being aggressive on the short position. Because there is always the chance of a 910 rotating to either connector, to either jungle, and then window, and sometimes in your farm market in case the rush on the T side is really on the B side. Now the WPB, when the WPB 910 really like this aggressive position, so he go up so in the apartment and just do some casual push-ups, and because of that he only Molotov the position. I really like this position with this dual player. Sometimes the B player, that in this case is technical, will play on the marketing on other teams, but the Mongols prefer the van, the standard position. And now that he doesn't need to have the Senzu here on the short and market position, so he transitions to the A connector position. So we see Senzu covered by this smoke here, so he starts the round in this position. This position has dual effect because he can either cut the rotations from underpass, but he can also cut the rotation for the short that is the standard position. And we always see blitz here on the window position, the main standard player in the window. And as I said, Mazinho plays on the back side of the map on the A side. The B short in WP, that is very interesting how they like to play this position because 9010 plays in the short, but he doesn't play full aggressive going out on the short like others at WP does. No, he plays more defensive way. So he treats some few times, do some kinds of peeks. And this once again forces Senzu to go to the A side because he doesn't need to have it on a 3B player setup. So he plays on the shadow, giving cover for the Mazinho plays on the A side. So sometimes what I saw in I think that it was two specific rounds, if I'm not wrong. I give a little more pushing the palace region, just being more aggressive to cut out rotations. But it was a more situational position, and I don't think they do this very often. So it was just more curiosity, like a trivia stat. And now, as a natural progression of this WP positional setup that I play, is that this dual WP setup, as I said, Senzu plays the second WP here in the short position, and 9010 goes for the ticket position with the primary WP. But what is also happening that I doesn't show in the image is that they rotate a lot. Sometimes one player you go either Senzu or 9010 for the window position, and they move like a wave, Foo, foo, foo. The wave that I mean is that they will rotate towards where the action is happening. So if they read that the T's are going to attack B or first in B, 9010 moves window and then market. If the person going to move into A, Senzu goes here, connector region, then to A, near the stairs in this position, So they keep moving in this position. Always one fixed player, one WP is fixed in one position, and the second is rotating to follow up the T action, the T movement. They start with the side of the map, B short plus ticket, and then move according to the T side. And because of this movement, we see that Mazin plays a very important role to play the connector. Because he's the middleman between the sides, here and here. He's the man that's gonna cut out the rotations from the T's because the T's really like the smoke on the edge of the catwalk. Sometimes they smoke on the window. So to avoid this all the smoke, this mess that happens here on the mid side, Mazinho needs to win this dose on the connector region. If he dies, he will break out all the MongolZ positions. So in the WP, it's very important to take out Mazinho because removing throw a Molotov, throw a secondary smoke, whatever. Just remove Mazinho from the position. That is the key against the WP setup, at least in my opinion and my reads. Now moving on to the T profile. The MongolZ is a team that play very slow on the map. They really like to slow down the pace. They really like to make this mid control with the utility. They throw a lot of chilies in the catwalk, in the entrance of the connector, in the window, sometimes in the underpass. They spend a lot of chilies, even the rounds that they doesn't are controlling mid. They just throw the molotovs, the smokes, the utilities there, and move it to their side, move it to B, A, whatever. But they always have this Molotov the media. If Molotov not start this smoke, I keep talking about Molotovs, but it's smoke. And the fast-paced rounds are in the low economy rushes, when they only have like 3 Galils, 2 AKs, low utility, or the Mac-10s, the Tech 9s, these low economy weapons. So they really do this rush. And they also like to do split lockers. The split lockers that they have 2 players engaging here, maybe 2 players engaging here, while the team is connecting. Now the mid default, how usually the rounds go. They include 3 players in the catwalk position with 1 player behind the box, 1 player behind each chest to give out the control. And then they force the utilities like this Molotov, the smoke. And what is interesting about this is that what I said about the split lockers, 1 player here going to either underpass to then connect to the teams on the mid or keeping progressing towards mid, towards B, or 1 player in the palace, like Mazinho is playing on the palace region right here. But he also plays ramp, so this is isolation, like 1A, 3 mid, 1 B. This is the main default player. Control mid and let the lurkers get any information until they decide to rotate. Because after lurkers get the information, the mid players can rotate you safely. Like, oh, Mazinho gets the read of the A below the fence. Players rotate shorts connector, shorts window, and then goes in the side. The same goes for the B side. Now the AWP mid, I saw this player a few times and I think that is very interesting, very good to play because they storm out the mid side with 4 players, giving full control with the WP. And now we see that they didn't see the Molotov right here. That is because they didn't need to kick out the players, need to hide. And in order to hide, they just full the smoke. And then this player right here goes to aggression on the short region to get out the short player because the standard position for the CTs is to have a short player like Senzu does here. Sometimes Senzu does more here, like I showed that most of the rounds Senzu in this position. And once again, a lurker. Azinho giving off control from the ramp, sometimes in the palace. That is because they need to lurk around. They work around this lurker's movement. And on the attack A, when I say attack, I mean the slow round. And as I said, they have a lot of utility. There's only one player in the mid side, but there are 3 utilities right here. A smoke in the cat, a smoke in the window, and then a Molotov in the entrance of the connector. And this arrow right here is a late round rotation. So they start with 3 players and they throw the utilities with the very standard Molotov on this. I don't know how you call these guys in English, but for me it's chair. With the smoke wall right here in this position. And what is happening? These 3 players engage from ramp. And then the thing. Oh, I forgot the name of the player, sorry. I always confuse him with Senzu. But what is happening is going to rotate short palace. So on this palace position, they engage separately. And then we have this merge maker. This mid lurker stays more time inside mid. So while their rotation short palace, he is still in the mid region because he wants to go in the down pass and then reach connector. So make a split attack, 3 players in the ramp, 1 player palace, 1 player mid connector. And now to the rush A. The rush A follows the same principle. The difference is the time. While on this round, the attack is very slow, control, tempo, give enough time to the players collecting information in the lurker on the B side, on the mid side. On the rush, no, it's quick, like a quick storm. But they also follow the same principle. Split the players, split 2, 1, 2. And engaging all at the same time. Throw whatever utility they have, but they first concentrate the utility on the mid, on the window plus catwalk in order to rotate. Then engage 2 players on the A connector, 2 players on the ramp, or even they swap. Sometimes I saw they swapping with 2 players palace, 1 player ramp, so it maybe can be a secondary player here instead of this player right here. They swap, but they always follow this split with 3 parts. And the reason they do this is to split the T side attention, because you usually see 1, 2 players, maybe 1 player on the connector region, maybe on the stairs, a secondary player on the ticket position or on the A side. Sometimes like they do 1 player on the shadow position, but it's usually 2 players. When the mid players rotate, it's already too late because these 2 players already rotate short connectors. So the window player sometimes get cut out of the rotation. That's why they enter in the same time. They must enter the same time because if the rank players enter first, the window player will have time to rotate in this case. And since they doesn't have the economy, they doesn't have the utility to throw out a Molotov in this position in the jungle to kick off this player to prevent the rotation, it's already too late. So they enter in the same time, like 20 seconds in the round. Now mid to B, I saw this and I thought very interesting on how they rotate this because we see these 2 arrows indicating the word path, but I'm gonna explain to you. It's very fun. It always starts on the underpass with the 2 players giving control to the mid region. And while it is happening, instead of going window and then rotate short market like the standard we saw most of the teams do, like this path, he goes up. He comes back to the short, so he goes underpass and then short. Meanwhile, Senzu, the last man player, we rotate towards the apartment to the main entrance, So instead of following him in the short, no, he goes back. then enter. And then we see three players right here, these three, and then two players on the short position. And it is very interesting. I don't know why they do this because it seems like for me counterintuitive because you already have one player controlling mid. Why are you gonna rotate straight on the backside to engage? But I don't know. They really like to do this, and they do this on a certain frequency that I saw in multiple rounds. But it's fun. If you guys like these read rushes, these read pushes, I really recommend you to take a look at the MongolZ demos. And once again, this is a slow round, Mid to be, it is a more control round. They spend their time, they think about the rotations, they give it time into the underpass lurker, get action, the mid players get action, the beat players get also action, they give their time to collect the information. That is the very different from what I saw compared to other teams. The Mongols doesn't rush, they only rush on the low economies. So in these more slow paced rounds, they spend the clock. Now for the last round of the not too quick analysis, a rush B. And there is enough to talk about the rush B because it follows the same principle of the A, low economy situations. We doesn't see they playing this with 5 AKs, or 4 AKs and a WP out. These rushes are always low economy. Some Galil, some Tech 9s, maybe a Deagle, maybe a FAMAS that they took from the CTs in the third round. That situation that you lose the pistol plus the second round. In the third round, you have a secondary buy like a weapon from the CTs or maybe the Galils. No, always low economy. And what they do is this Molotov in the advance, sorry, that always the teams do gonna pushing towards market from the palace plus apartment. Sorry for only for the apartment. And then also they play this Molotov right here near the heat from the market position. That I really like this secondary Molotov. A few teams do this. I think that is very important because sometimes the players from A rotating charts here. And also they're cutting the rotations from the A players. Meanwhile, a lurker, very standard position. Of this, a lot of teams do the same approach in the lurker one player mid or sometimes lurker one player in the palace with 4 players in the attacking. But since this is a rush, 20 seconds on the clock, they're already storming. No time to think, no time to stop. And that's it, guys. Hope you enjoy the content. For the future content, we're gonna see Ask on the Nuke, the Polish team. That is already, I already started to make the data, to look out the demos. I will probably recording in 1 or 2 days. So maybe tomorrow, even the video gonna be up on the YouTube channel. And then Vitality Inferno, it was highly requested. I said I keep following the requested things in order to do these things first. And then these Astralis, oh my god, how do I say this? But if you look back on the videos, you're gonna see that I really want to talk about Astralis, but every time I watch the demos, I don't know, it just not clicking my head to write about them. I first wanted to do about Ancient, and then I decided that Ancient it wasn't a nice map to talk, even though I really like Ancient. And then I started to think, oh, maybe Nuke, maybe Mirage. And once again, I don't know what map to talk, but I know that I want to talk about Astralis. I think that Hook's addition to the team as the IGL makes a lot of impact to the team, and I really want to talk, but I don't know how. I don't know how to make the proper content. This is a mental block, is a per se like this. I want to talk about the team. I just don't know how. I just don't know what I should be looking at Astralis that is really different. I just know that I want to talk about them. And that's it, guys. Once again, hope you follow the content. I hope you follow the channel. As I recently crossed the 150 followers in the channel, that is very good. My Twitter is also with 2K people following. It is very good for me. These small milestones, these small goals that reach the cross like 100. It's not big, but for me it's big. A big number. 100 is a lot of people. So that's it, guy. Bye. See you soon. And sorry for the voice. My voice is still low. I don't know. I'll do it to the weather. That is winter here in Brazil. My throat is kind of sore.